Hi there, it's Karen Whiting, and I'm not at my own home. See this gray and white background behind me? I'm at a vacation place with some family, but I'm taking time to share ways to embrace joy because that helps us a lot. If we wake up in the morning and say, "Good morning, Lord," and just start thinking of things that we are grateful for. I'm still wearing my uh, Count Your Blessings. I wear that on days where things are going wrong. And since getting here, the AC broke down. The hot tub broke down. They fixed the AC. The hot tub is not fixed yet. So that's been interesting. But the boys have decided they could play in the hot tub without any bubbles or anything and still have fun. We had a great trip yesterday. A friend took us to one of the Thimble Islands in Connecticut that I have never been before, even though I grew up in Connecticut and not far from the Thimble Islands. So I think that lots of the times it's just what we choose in life and our trusting God in life and our knowing that there's ups and downs all the time. But even when we're down, even when things seem to be bad, it's still a time to choose joy. It's still a time to say that I know God has a plan for this, and I don't have to know all the details. I don't know have to know what's going to go on. All I have to do is accept that God's in charge. I don't have to be, and that I can be thankful for what I do have. And Pam, my co author of the great book, Choosing a Joyful Heart, that we are giving away a copy of this when we're done with all the video recordings. And we're each giving away two other books. I had told you two books I would give away, but I decided that what I'll do is whoever wins, because I have lots of choices, I'll give them a list of what they can choose from so that in case they have one of my books, or maybe it's not, they're not the audience for it, they have a different choice because we are talking about choosing things, choosing joy. So this way you get to choose what you want when you win. One person will get the joy book, but then the other two will get to choose from the different books that I have. But Pam likes to encourage people to develop radiant joy. Doesn't that sound wonderful? And for her, it starts with journaling. She draws the sun with the rays of the sun coming out. Okay. And that leaves an arc. And when it does that, Pam always feels like on each ray, you should write blessings and answers to prayers on the rays. You could even put something up on a chart, or if you have a chalkboard, put that up because they can change. You have different blessings you're focusing on different days. But then focus on the benefits of joy that include, less cardiovascular stress, a state of calm, better sleep, lower stress, boosts creativity, lowers blood pressure, and even boosts the immune system. And on top of that, if you're journaling and coloring things or just doing a page for this that you can post up somewhere, coloring in itself lowers stress and boosts joy. And then add joy to waking up and thanking God, as I had said. And beyond that, before you go to bed, thank God for the day. Thank God for having Him help you bless someone that day. That's the other thing I do when I wake up, besides thanking God for the day, is I ask Him to help me bless someone that day in some way, whether it's an encouraging word or noticing a need they have and meeting that need, whatever it is, to do that. In fact, one of the reasons I'm in Connecticut every year is I have a disabled brother, and he lives in Connecticut. He can't travel down to me in Florida anymore, so I make sure I go, and I spend time with him every day. And that's nice. I get to serve him and do things for him because he is a little weaker right now. He had COVID 4 times. He had pneumonia last year, and all of it has left him very weak, even in walking, a little bit on his balance. And we find that, it's easier for him to sit and we just wait on him. And that's something that we can do. And we like to do that. My grandsons are good. My son is great with him. My cousins are too. And so we can rejoice on that. But that's part of what we all want to do, is find the things we can rejoice on and do that. Use your gifts to give joy to others is what that's considered to be. And it's a great thing to do. If you're feeling depressed or in a slump, like one friend who thought she was joy immune when she faced emergency surgery that left her depleted, left her starting to feel like she was pitying herself, and she chose to look to Jesus. She could focus on the circumstances or God and his promises, and she chose God. She chose to rejoice over the gifts of creation, from a lovely sunrise to a beautiful friend who called. She read the Bible and rejoiced in God. She would read and find something in a passage to rejoice about, that he knows everything, that he created us. And those are something that we can do too, because you know what? None of us are joy immune. We may think we are, but we're not. We just have to stop focusing on self, stop focusing on the problems, do what we can to fix them, and call the people we need to have help us. But beyond that, just keep praying for that and looking at God and just say, I know you're awesome. I know you're almighty. I know you can do all things. And I'm going to thank you for doing what I need you to do to help me. And I'm just going to start thanking you now. And that will help too. Broken hearts, when someone cuts us off, leaves our lives, we may feel devastated and believe we are the cause. Or if there's abuse and we need to end a relationship, that can hurt too, because we always had hope that that relationship would be good. And we start having to admit that the other person's not going to change and we have to be out of harm's way. When we work hard in a career and it goes bust, we lose the job or something goes totally wrong, it can break our hearts too. All of those break our hearts. But a broken heart is open to healing. It's open to filling by God. So to jump into something else too fast might not help. We might need to first be secure in our relationship with God. First say, I know that you closed a window and I have to find the door that you've opened, because God never closes a door, but he will close a window because we're not looking at the door and we're trying to squeeze through a window. We should just be walking or running or jumping through a door. So look for the doors. I have a door behind me. Okay. And make sure you're going through a door, not into a closet. That's another good thing to know about. But that's redirecting us. So often when something has happened, I'll say, when I get a no, I'll just say, oh, well, it's either not the right time or God wants to redirect me. Let me look around and see what I should do next, and pray to have God show me that. And that makes such a difference, especially when I say he's redirecting me. I wonder what it's going to be, because I know it's going to be wonderful and I know it's going to be greater than what I thought was the opportunity. That was really only a tiny little window that I could barely squeeze through. He's got something bigger, because God doesn't go smaller with us. He goes bigger with us. And just remember that, because you'll find he does great things all the time. And even if you have financial challenges, like my daughters, lots of my children, in fact, myself too, lots of people I know have at some time in their life faced financial challenges. And that may not be fun. It may not be what we want, but it does happen. We have to realize it. And that's, again, when we have to trust God and say, he knows what he is doing for us. And we can say, look, he'll do that. Sometimes it's just to teach us. When my son Michael had a problem that he needed braces, my husband didn't have a job. I was earning about $2 a day. And we had some retirement money. We could pay the bills, but we couldn't do braces and other things. So we just prayed for God to either heal them or to give us the money. Well, you know what? We went back to the dentist and he said, I don't know why I wrote down that he needs braces. His teeth are okay. Don't worry about it. Later on, when he went to the Air Force Academy, they said, oh, we think you need braces. And I said, God, you already healed them. You have to show them it's going to be okay. And they looked again and said, oh, you don't need braces. And so sometimes we go through these struggles because God wants us to make sure we trust him and make sure we remember we are trusting him with whatever he has said he is giving us. And that's a great thing to do always. Then I'm going to look one thing up for us. Well, I'll look it up in a minute here. But another thing is even accepting terminal illness and stuff. When my husband had terminal cancer, and he had been given 2 to 3 months to live, but he lived 2.5 years. The end of the 2.5 years, the oncologist, the head of Johns Hopkins Oncology, said, I can't do anything more. I don't know what to say, but you're going to have to use hospice care. And we said, well, I hope we can do hospice care at home. And we were able to, especially since one son was able to come be with us during that time. And Jim had been so good during the treatments and the chemo. He would look and say, It's time for me to get a new treatment. And all I have to do is say, I was beginning to feel like Superman again. And now you're going to hit me with kryptonite. And he just used some humor. And that does so much for us at those times. We also use that time to make sure we saw everyone in the family, that he talked to everyone he could and showed them that he loved them and they could reciprocate and tell them how much that he meant to them in life. The day before he passed away, he said to me, I don't know if I did everything God wanted me to do. And I said, I think you did, but God will always let you know. And instantly, I got an email from an old friend of his that he hadn't talked to in decades. And this friend said, Jim, I've wanted to talk to you and tell you something for years, and I've just let the time slip by, but I know I have to let you know now that years ago, decades ago, I and some friends were in a training program on Governor's Island where you were stationed in the Coast Guard, and you invited us to dinner. We sat down to dinner with you, your family, the kids, and you just slipped your napkin onto your lap and slipped into a prayer. That prayer was from your heart, and it just stayed with me for the next 2 weeks. I could not stop thinking about how you prayed. So I started praying with my family, and it changed our lives. And I said, Jim, you see, there are so many little things you did in life that made a difference. That's all God asked us to do. And it's what you did. And he just sat back and smiled and knew he had the joy again that he wanted to have from God, because God was saying, good job, faithful servant. And it's such a wonderful thing to do. I think of Hudson Taylor, who was a missionary in China. He dreamed of serving China and desired to marry a young woman, but she said, no, I won't marry you unless you decide to stay here in England. I don't want to go to China. And he thought, no, I have to obey God. And so he said, no, I can't do that. And he went on to China. And God gave him a different woman who was very involved and so much loved what he was doing in missionary work. And he treasured all of that. But before he met that woman, he served in China, and he had a servant with him. But that servant stole all his possessions, and Hudson chose to rejoice and trust God. He wrote about it in a letter on how he forgave the man. The letter was read by, of all people, George Mueller, a great man who founded so many orphanages in England and trusted God for his provisions, which is what Hudson Taylor wanted to do. And George Mueller was so excited about what he read that he sent money to Hudson Taylor, not just then, but through the years. And Hudson said that, as always, God knew best. And that with those letters, that one letter to his sister, he ended up getting thousands of dollars. And looking back, he said, yep, God knew best all along. And he used my financial difficulty to give him something better, a friend, provisions, and other people who also offered to help him out. And sometimes that's what God wants us to do too, just to kind of let people know what's happened and that you have forgiven, that you're in a good place as far as that goes. And let God work. Let God send people to you you may not know who will take care of things for you. And that's just so wonderful. So I ask you to just turn to God and let him fill you with joy. Use that radiant joy idea of writing down the blessings that go out in all different directions, like the sun rays, because as that happens, you know what? You'll see that you have blessings. I call them multiple streams of blessings. How are you blessed with family, with friendship, with uh, a roof over your head, with provisions of food and things? How are you blessed in career or in between times, if you're not in a career right now, but waiting for a new one, of lessons that you're learning along the way? And that's multiple streams of joy. The radiant joy makes such a difference, because you can see I don't have to focus on one bad thing. I can focus on all the good things and have joy because of that. So have a joyful day and a joyful week, and enjoy the rest of the month, and I'll see you in another week. Bye.